What is up, Packers fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Draft, brought to you by the good people at Badger State Brewing in Green Bay, Wisconsin, just minutes from beautiful Lambeau Field. And today, we are discussing one of my very favorite players in this draft, certainly one of the guys that I am higher on than consensus, and that is Kansas State offensive lineman Cooper Beebe. Cooper is a very experienced player with some high marks, some high grades, some high accolades from his time, certainly in the Big 12, and grew up Midwest tough and played, some high level football there in Manhattan, Kansas, and very much seems like a Green Bay Packer mentality type of guy to me. Let's dive right into the pros. He's got a great build for an interior guy. He's a storage freezer, Roblox character looking dude. He's got some Jackson Powers Johnson to him there, though I don't think he's a center type player. He is that type of extremely thick, like barrel chested type of offensive lineman, not kind of the thick tight end or, those kind of like Adonis athletes that you sometimes see play and tackle, guys that really just look, like I said, like they're bigger tight ends and don't carry any extra weight. Not that Cooper's carrying a ton of extra weight, but he's just like, he's a thick dude. He's thick, through the trunk and all of it. He's got a ton of experience, a ton. 4-year starter at Kansas State. He was the right tackle as a freshman in 2020. And then he played left tackle in 2021, followed by darn near 2,000 snaps, about 1,900 snaps at left guard in 2022 and 2023. So he's got that versatility, and it's interesting because that's something that the Packers love in their offensive linemen. They've talked about it on and on, where you guys have played in different spots. Zach Tom has played multiple positions, both in the NFL and college. I think Elton Jenkins has definitely played more than one position in the pros, but I think he played more than one position during his time at Mississippi State. Like there are, just a number of guys that have played in different spots that have spent time with the Green Bay Packers, and then they play different spots when they spend time with the Green Bay Packers. There's a couple guys that get kind of, entrenched, but, more often than not, you're going to play all over the line. He's got a real road grader mentality and honestly a functional play strength on film that sort of goes with that road grader tagline, with that road grader moniker. I mean, he moves people, and that's an attitude as much as it is something that you actually see on film. He would be, in my opinion, he'd be one of the better run blockers in Green Bay, like immediately. And that's something that I know doesn't have the same fanfare as like an elite pass protector, but it would be fun if someone on Green Bay's offensive line could kind of start moving people at a high rate. I think Zach Tom started to do a decent job of it towards the end of last year, but it's not really necessarily these guys' forte, which is fine. I mean, if you're going to tell me, pass protector or run blocker, I'm going to ask for a pass protector. I'm going to keep, my quarterback alive. I'm going to, be throwing on more downs than I'm going to be passing anyway. Like if I'm trailing in the fourth quarter, I don't care if you can run block, especially in the playoffs. I care that you can keep my quarterback alive. With that said, he does that. Super difficult to move in the bull rush game. He's got a lot of weight in the seat of his pants. And I think that's going to matter, when he settles, and he settled in college, but when he settles inside at the NFL level, there aren't going to be a lot of guys that can bull rush him, I don't think. 2 total sacks given up in the last 3 seasons, which includes, if you listen to what I said earlier, I mean, that includes 1 season at left tackle. So when he was a sophomore, 2 years ago, 2021, or really 3 seasons ago, 2021, played left tackle, didn't give up a sack. So he's been an elite pass protector his entire time with the Wildcats. He pulls well. Kansas State, their head coach was formerly at North Dakota State. That's, if you know anything about it, any of that, is they're going to run power. And they're going to do it in a number of different ways. They're going to run A-gap power. They're going to run normal pin and pull power. You're going to pull if you play at Kansas State or North Dakota State. And Cooper Beebe pulled. Now, Green Bay doesn't pull. But you might say that the ability to pull, and the ability to not look unathletic when you're doing it could correlate, could resonate with a zone team, a team that runs as much outside zone and as much split zone as the Packers do. Being a good puller, hopefully some of that kind of translates in the ability to move. He's a high IQ player, very smart kid. Picks up stunts, picks up twists. I think he's smart enough to play center. Seems like it's the only place he hasn't really played with all those snaps, both tackle spots and at guard. But I think from a processing standpoint and from a brain standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, everything that I've heard, during his time at Kansas State, he could play center, but hasn't snapped the ball. And we just saw, they did end up winning the Super Bowl. We just saw Creed Humphrey not be able to snap the ball to Pat Mahomes and just about cost him a championship. And so snapping is important. You can't just throw anybody at center. And maybe Cooper Beebe is an exceptional snapper. I would have no way of knowing, but it's just not something that we've seen him do a ton of. He looks for work, guys. He is Ben Fennell loves looking for work. He looks for work. If he is, you're running a twist or you're not lining a guy up immediately, maybe you're trying to overload or whatever. Maybe you're trying to line somebody up directly on the center. You're going to leave Cooper Beebe unblocked because you don't think you can beat him. He's going to look for work. He's going to clean up somebody else's mess, and he's probably going to put your pass rusher in the dirt. And that's a fun thing to watch for me. I love watching Cooper Beebe knock down guys in the run game. In the pass game. Climbs well in double teams, and that does have a direct correlation to the outside zone or the split zone system, because they'll run plenty of zone with K-State, and they'll run some duo and getting a decent hand on your defensive lineman and climbing up to the next level and getting on linebacker and being athletic enough to get hands on linebacker. That has a direct correlation to the system that Green Bay runs. It is something that you can see in their well-executed runs all day long, the ability to combo guys and get up to the linebacker level successfully. And that is something that I saw in Beebe that I enjoyed watching him do. He tested very well in Indianapolis. He's a 9.49 RAS guy despite a lack of length, which is something that we'll talk about in the cons portion here. 9.49 RAS. Now, he didn't run any agilities, so that's based on an excellent 40 time and some good jumps, some good explosive numbers. The Packers the Packers just love agility drills, period. Like they want to know what your shuttle is, specifically for offensive line. I think they really like the shuttle. And they want to know what your three cone is too. So those things are important and something I would guess, I have no knowledge of this, but I would guess it's something that Beebe does at K-State's Pro Day. But anytime you have a 9.49 with at least two of the three, when I say the three, I mean speed, which would be the 40, explosives, which would be the jumps, and agilities, which would be the agility drills. We got two of the three at least on record, and he's a 95th percentile guard as an athlete. So that is a plus. We put that right there in the plus column. Cons. Length is a very real concern, not only at tackle, but at guard. He's got tackle experience. There's no way the Packers, and frankly, I don't think any other team, Cooper came in at 6'3¼ with 31.5-inch arms. Those are short, man. And sometimes that's fine. You play center, you play guard, short arms are okay. But that leads to then a lack of positional flexibility. And that's kind of the chicken or the egg thing with Cooper Beebe, or that's kind of, where I'm not 100% sure where we're at with if the Packers even view him as versatile. Because, if I just tried to sell you the good points, right, and said, well, hey, man, Cooper's a guy that played a year at right tackle at a Power 5, then he played a year left tackle at a Power 5, then he played 2 years at left guard at a Power 5, multiple time All Big 12, multiple time All American, and I sold you all of that. You're like, oh man, he's a really versatile piece. That sounds like, oh yeah, I told you. By the way, 9.49 RAS, and you're thinking, man, that's a Green Bay Packer. That sounds like a Packers lineman. Maybe, hopefully, because I love him, but I don't know that he has any positional flexibility in the NFL. I don't think there was a big game in the Metrodome, I think early in Aaron Rodgers' career, where TJ Lang had to play left tackle because TJ Lang just had to play left tackle. I don't think, other than I think Lane Taylor ended up starting one game at left tackle because they were down that bad. I don't think there's an even emergency scenario with Cooper where you'd have him play tackle with 31.5-inch arms at 6'3". We can talk about emergency tackle reps for Troy Fautano. We can talk about emergency or regular tackle reps for Jordan Morgan. We can talk about, whether you think a couple of these days, Kingsley Suamataia, we talked about whether maybe he could play some tackle. I don't think Cooper's a tackle, and that's fine if you just want him to play guard. But Green Bay has been so key on versatility and being able to learn multiple spots and being able to help out at multiple spots if someone goes down. I think proving that he can play center would be important for his Green Bay Packerness, but he's not going through the draft to become a Green Bay Packer. He's going to the draft to get into the NFL. And if a team can just say, hey, I would like to start this man at guard for 10 years and be pretty good at that spot, I think that's what he is. And that will depress his value for the Packers a little bit, but it won't for every other team. A team running a power system, a pin and pull, he'd be a hell of a Baltimore Raven. I'll tell you that right now. He would be a hell of a Baltimore Raven. Other teams that are cooler with the man blocking stuff, the pin and pull stuff, he might be attractive to them. Or again, a team that just says, hey, we need a guard, man. We love having versatile backups too, but we want this kid as a starter. We want to play him at right guard from 2024 to 2034. Thumbs up. That's Cooper Beebe to me. That's Cooper Beebe. Lateral agility is the only other thing on film, and that's the Packers run outside zone and split zone a ton. So lateral agility matters. I mean, that stuff is important. It seems like it's a bit of a question mark on film, and then he didn't run any agility drills in Indianapolis. And so that could tear down his RAS score, and not that his RAS score necessarily matters for what kind of pro he's going to be. I just mean that his composite athletic score, what people think of him as an athlete, if he runs bad agilities after being a fast offensive lineman, after being an explosive offensive lineman, he runs mediocre agilities, he just becomes a good athlete instead of a great one. And right now he's a great one. You're a 95th percentile athlete at guard. You're awesome. And when your film looks like Cooper's does, you're in the conversation in round one. You're not necessarily always in round one as a guard, but you're in the conversation. You're almost certainly getting taken in the top 64, and that would be awesome for Coop. I think that someday early day 2 is kind of what he should be planning, and I think probably what he's hoping. Okay, Packers fit. I think he's a 10-year starter at guard. I've said that. He's good. So if I can interest you in a 10-year starter who is good at guard, a plug and play, in my opinion, in all respect to Sean Ryan, but you plug, my God, Elton and Cooper Beebe as your guards for the Jordan Love era, as it were, would be awesome. It really would be awesome. And I hope that's something I could interest Packers fans in. I don't know if it's going to be anything I'll be able to interest the actual Green Bay Packers in. They prefer to take college tackles and kick them inside. Sitton was a college tackle. Lang was a college tackle. Runyon Jr. was a college tackle. On and on I could go with college tackles that they have asked to move inside and play some guard. Billy Turner, another college tackle that they moved inside and played guard. It's what they like to do. They want tackle feet at guard, tackle pass pro ability at guard. So he sort of is that, right? Because he's a 2-year starter. He has 1 year at right tackle and 1 year at left tackle. But ultimately, even Kansas State decided that he was a guard. So I don't even know if he qualifies for the Packers take college tackles and move them inside. Sean Ryan, another perfect. He was a college tackle that they have immediately moved inside to guard. So I don't even know if Coop qualifies as a college tackle that they're moving inside to guard. I think he's a college guard that they probably aren't going to take, which is too bad. I think he's really good. I don't think Green Bay would ever let him play anywhere but guard unless he proves that he can play some center. And ultimately, from a Packers fit perspective, I don't think they'll take him. I would take Cooper Beebe. I don't think they'll take Cooper Beebe. I think, and it's always an easy bet, right? When I've said, even the argument that I've had with people the last couple of years, and I've ended up being right, but there could be a day when I end up being wrong about these super extra large offensive linemen, these 6'7", 6'8", 330+ pound tackles that they just don't take. Last year it was Broderick Jones, or they really like the Darnell Wright, the kid the Bears ended up taking. They really like him. Oh, well, they don't take him. They don't take the big offensive linemen. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but ultimately, I don't think he's the type of guy that they're going to have their eye on. I think Jordan Morgan is a much more likely Green Bay Packer. I think Troy Fautanu is a much more likely Green Bay Packer. I even think Sua Matai is a more likely Green Bay Packer. But I think he's going to have a really, really good NFL career, and that can and should have draft value. As far as my overall grade, he's got a high round 2 for me. He is my 32nd overall player, and I believe my guard number 2, because I am 90% sure. Let me just, this is great. We did such a good job of not having to pause so that I can look something up in this show. We did such a good job of leaving that until the end. But I believe I have Fuaga as guard 1 because I evaluate Fuaga as a guard because the Packers, well, now I think a different team might let him fail at tackle before they kick him inside the guard. So honestly, folks, as a true guard, like a guard, Cooper's guard 1 for me, because I think the argument can and has been made about Fuaga at tackle. So as a guard, as a real guard, Cooper's my number 1 overall guy. Folks, thank you so much for watching or listening. If you're on the podcast feed, how can you help us out? It's easy. Buy the Green Bay Draft Guide powered by Packer Report and use promo code DAILY. That is DAILY for 10% off. You can follow me. I'm at Ross Uglem on X, formerly known as Twitter. You can check us out at Packer Report. That first month of VIP status over Packer Report is always $1. So if you just want to check us out, see what I've got going on, see what Jacob Morley's got going on, see what Mark Eccles hearing from NFL personnel. He does that stuff all the time. He's been doing it for the Packers' current roster. He'll be doing it for the draft. It's insider stuff, and it's valuable, and it's an awesome way to support us in addition to buying the draft guide. Other than that, do everything you're supposed to do here at the Pack-A-Day podcast. Like, subscribe, click that bell, get the notifications, get all of the Pack-A-Day podcast content that you need, that you require. Have an awesome rest of your day, folks, and go Pack Go.